Okay, so have you ever wondered if something like a new police car design and a massive 900-page political document could actually be connected? It sounds like a stretch, right? Well, today we're going to connect some of those dots, and what they reveal is a shared blueprint, an architecture of control. But more importantly, we're going to talk about the architecture of freedom.
So it all starts at a level you can actually see, right on the highway. You may have seen these new police cruisers, but the whole point of them, as this slide notes, is that they're designed to blend in, to make the presence of authority a lot less obvious. And then, boom, the scale just explodes. We start seeing reports about government plans that really push the envelope of executive power, plans that human rights groups find pretty alarming. And it turns out both of these things, the visible and the almost unbelievable, they connect back to a very deliberate, very detailed strategy. We're talking about a nearly 900-page plan that has a stated goal of completely remaking the U.S. government from the ground up. So this is the big question, isn't it? What if these aren't just random, disconnected events? If we want to protect our freedom, the very first step is to understand the architecture of control. And only then can we figure out how to build a shield against it.
All right, let's get into it. First, we have to understand the plan. And it's a plan that works on multiple levels at the same time, from the street right outside your window all the way up to the highest levels of government.
And this is where you really start to see the parallel thinking. It's kind of fascinating. On the left, you've got physical control that becomes invisible, just blending into the background. And on the right, you have political control that aims to be absolute, to centralize power in a way that's never been done before. See the connection? Both are about increasing authority while making it harder to see and scrutinize.
And hey, this isn't just some idea they're floating around. It's happening now. This chart shows a new fleet of 400 vehicles. And look, half of them are not the classic black and white. You've got all white cars and even 100 in assorted colors. Critics say this is a tactic to make state power harder to spot at a glance. So what is this master plan? It's called Project 2025. And as this expert analyst points out, this is not your old school limited government idea. The whole point, spelled out over hundreds of pages, is to gather up a ton of presidential power and then use it to actively reshape society into a very specific vision.
And what's really wild is how methodical this playbook is. It's not vague, it's a step-by-step guide. Step 1, centralize power. Turn the budget office into a command center. Step 2, purge the existing civil service by reclassifying them so they can be fired easily. 3, capture the supposedly independent agencies. The goal of all these steps? To remove any barrier, any friction between a presidential command and getting it done instantly. And look, this stuff isn't just theory written down in some document. It has real-world human consequences. Now, proponents of these plans say it's all about border control, but critics point to proposals like sending deportees to Libya, a country that our own government's reports have called a hellscape because of the torture and abuse that happens there.
Okay, so you hear about a 900-page plan, and you think, how in the world do you even start to push back against that? It can feel totally overwhelming. But the answer isn't to fight fire with fire. It's to turn to completely different blueprints. Blueprints designed for freedom, not for control.
Our first tool comes from this really brilliant systems theorist, a guy named Stafford Beer. He used this science called cybernetics. Now, that might sound complicated, but the idea is simple. He used it to design systems for liberty, systems that are responsive, decentralized, and actually work for the people inside them instead of just serving a command center at the top. And this is Beer's big, game-changing idea. He says, it is better to dissolve problems than to solve them. What does that mean? It means you don't fight a bad, centralized system on its own terms. You build a better system, a smarter one, that makes the old, clunky one totally obsolete. You dissolve the problem before it even starts.
So let's put these two ideas side by side. On one hand, you've got this top-down control model. It's all about grabbing old, averaged-out data and using it to issue commands from a central HQ. Beer's model is the total opposite. It's about processing information in real time, from the ground up, with constant feedback. This lets you spot and dissolve problems locally,
before they ever become a crisis that requires a sledgehammer from the top.
Okay, so that's the system, but there's another front in this battle, and it's much closer to home. It's inside your own head. The philosopher Terence McKenna basically said that before any system can control your body, it first has to control your mind. He urged us to explore that unknown territory, terra incognita, that lies just beneath the surface of the ideas we're fed every day.
McKenna basically gave us a toolkit for mental self-defense. He argued that the real target of control is your consciousness. So the defense is to reclaim your own mind. You have to question the concepts that are being used to replace reality. You have to notice when language is being weaponized to shape how you see the world. The most powerful shield you will ever have is your own awareness. All right, let's bring this all home. We've looked at blueprints for control, and we've looked at blueprints for freedom. One for the systems around us, and one for the system inside us. So now, the big question. How do you actually build your shield? Because knowing this stuff is one thing, but being prepared is everything. The key thing to remember is that this isn't about doing just one thing. It's a strategy with 4 layers. First, know the blueprint. Actually understand what these plans are proposing. Second, demand better systems. Don't just oppose bad ideas. Advocate for good ones, like more transparency and local control. Third, reclaim your mind. Actively question the narratives you're fed. And finally, act with information. Use the tools you have, voting, speaking out, organizing, but do it with a crystal clear understanding of what's really at stake.
And you know, what's kind of ironic is that this quote from an expert analyzing the very project we're talking about perfectly sums up our entire strategy. Understanding the plan isn't just about defense. It's about building your offense. It turns you from being a passive target into an active, informed, and empowered citizen. And that leaves us right here with this final question. The blueprints for control, they're out there. They're public. You can go read them. But the tools for freedom, smarter systems, independent thought, those are timeless, and they're available to all of us. So the real question isn't what they will do. It's which blueprint will we choose to build with? The choice is ours.